Talk about synthetic division. We want to divide 3x to the fourth minus 7x to the third minus 5x squared plus 9x plus 10 by x minus 2. And so what this might look like, you may have a problem given to you, and it may look like this. Divided by x minus 2. And so I gave you a list of things to do here to kind of work through, and we'll just kind of work through them with this first problem. First, set the divisor, x minus 2. The divisor is what's on bottom, it's what's in your denominator. Set it equal to 0 and solve for x. Hopefully you can see that when I set x minus 2 equal to 0 and solve for x, I get that x equals 2. That's the first step. Then we want to make sure that our polynomial, our exponents, are in descending order. What that means is that you have the highest power to the lowest power. So we have x to the fourth and x to the third, x squared, and x to the power of 1, and then our constant. So we're good there. We're written in descending order. This next piece where it says if an exponent is missing, we need to use a 0 for the coefficient. I'll get to this on the second example. I think you'll understand that more when I actually do an example for that one. Number 3, write down the divisor from step 1 and the coefficients from the polynomial. This is what I mean by that. The divisor is now just 2, so I want to write it down, 2, and then I want to write all the coefficients down, including the sign that goes with the actual coefficient. Write them from left to right, giving yourself a little space in between. So I've got 2, which is the divisor, then 3, -7, -5, 9, and 10. The next thing I want to do is put a little half box around the 2. Give yourself a little space and draw a line underneath because we're going to be writing some numbers here. And put a little arrow here indicating we're going to bring this first coefficient down. This is how we begin. So we write our divisor, then our coefficients in the order, put a little half box around the divisor, draw a line, bring down the first coefficient. Now we're ready to begin. The way we do this is just some simple multiplication and some adding and subtracting. What we do is we multiply 2 times 3. 2 times 3 is 6. Write that here. And then we basically add these two numbers here. -7 plus 6 gives me -1. Write the answer there. Then I multiply 2 with the -1. 2 times -1 is -2, and that goes right here. Then I combine these. -5 plus a -2 is -7. Then I multiply 2 times -7, which is -14. I put that answer there. Then I combine these two numbers. +9 minus 14, or plus -14, however you want to look at that, is a -5. Then I multiply 2 times -5, which gives me -10. Then when I combine these two, I get a 0. This last number here is the remainder. So when our remainder is 0, we don't have to worry about it. But do know that this last one is the remainder. Now, how do I actually write my answer? If we go back to the beginning, the highest power was 4 in my polynomial that I was dividing, but I divided out an x term. Since I divided out an x term, when I write my answer, the highest power is now x to the third. So it is 3x to the third minus 1x squared minus 7x minus 5, and I'm done. So these numbers that I get after I do my combining, after my multiplying and my combining, these are now the leading coefficients of my new polynomial. And again, after I divide out 1x, in my answer, the highest coefficient or the highest degree of the variable is going to be 1 less than what I started with because I divided out 1x. Let's look at another example. Three x to the fourth minus 5x squared plus 9x plus 10, and I want to divide that by x plus 2. First thing that I do is I take my divisor, set it equal to 0, and solve for x. Subtract 2 from each side, and I get that x is equal to -2. Now I want to write down -2, my divisor here, and then each coefficient. But watch, 3x to the fourth. First, I guess I need to make sure that I'm in descending order. I have x to the fourth, x squared, and x, and then my constant. It is in descending order, but I'm missing an x to the third term. Since I'm missing an x to the third term when I'm writing these coefficients, I must, right here in your step 2, I must put a 0 in there to hold its place. So I have -2, which is my divisor. Then I have 3. I'm missing the x to the third, so I put a 0 for a placeholder. Then -5, +9, +10. Draw my line, bring down my leading coefficient, and I'm ready to begin my multiplication and combining. So -2 times 3 is -6. It goes here. When I combine 0 and -6, I get -6. -2 times -6 is +12. When I combine a -5 and a +12, I get a +7. -2 times +7 is -14. When I combine +9 and -14, I get -5. -2 times -5 is +10. When I combine +10 and +10, I get 20. And recall that this last number is my remainder. So how do I do this? Well, the highest power I started with was a 4. I divided out 1x, so the highest power in my answer is going to be x to the third. So I have 3x to the third minus 6x squared plus 7x minus 5, and then I have this remainder. So that'll be plus my remainder, which is 20. But the way I want to write that is as a fraction. It's the remainder over the divisor. So it's going to be 20 over x plus 2. And this is my answer. So again, the only difference in this second example and final example is that if I have a remainder, just put a plus out there and then write the remainder as a fraction, and the fraction is going to just be the remainder over the divisor. And that's how you do synthetic division.